Hi everyone, my name's Ashley Metcalf and I'm with Indian Health Service. We have a few brief tutorials on this site that we hope will help you better understand contract support cost and its calculations. This presentation will cover an overview of the changes in the new policy. The new IHS CSC policy was implemented on October 27, 2016. You can reference the Dear Tribal Leader letter that was sent out with it on the IHS website. This new policy was developed in partnership with the IHS CSC workgroup and through tribal consultation. The workgroup was comprised of both federal and tribal workgroup members. The new policy can be found at the IHS website, at the link below, at the IHS website under the Indian Health Manual, Chapter 6, Part 3. The updates made help to bring the policy up to date in the full CSC funding environment. The overall goal of the new policy is to simplify and streamline the process. Let's go over some of the specific changes. The new policy includes guiding principles. These guiding principles were used by the workgroup to help guide discussions and agreements throughout all the meetings. There are also expanded definitions to ensure and support broad understanding and consistent application. Specific to startup and pre-award, a new piece was incorporated identifying that within 90 days after the initial year, or 12 months, the awardee will certify that all funds were spent. Regarding direct CSC, there was a change made from the previous policy that utilized the non-medical inflation rate to the new policy to now utilize the medical inflation rate. Also, the application of that inflation rate was also updated to specifically identify that it would be applied at the end of the first quarter, that being in December. For indirect CSC, one piece incorporated identifies that it will be necessary to determine if prior year secretarial funds were expended, verifying that the total healthcare costs are at least equal to the amount IHS funded. If those expenditures are not at least equal to the IHS funding provided, the CSC calculation is subject to the calculations outlined in 6-3.2E1A and B. Also, a new piece added in the indirect CSC section was the option for a 90-day closeout after the contract term. And finally, the use of rates was updated. A fix with carry forward would be allowable as a current or one-year-old rate, and provisional final would be current final rate or up to 2-year-old final rate. The policy does allow for a transitional period from 2014 to 2017. The new policy incorporates alternative methods for calculating IDC associated with recurring service unit shares. Similar to the method for tribal shares the previous policy had, there are two alternative ways to calculate. Alternative A, IHS and the awardee negotiate based on a detailed analysis. Alternative B, it's the awardee's option to elect a simplified method and use a 97% and 3% split, where 3% of the service unit funding will be considered IDC. It's important to note that the policy outlines that this applies to all new and expanded. It only applies to ongoing contractors under the few circumstances identified within the policy, that being tribal request, new or expanded PSFA, or joint ventures, added to the ongoing contract, and a new type of cost in IDC pool resulting in a 5% overall change in the value of the IDC pool. The application of the 97-3 split or negotiation of a total amount is limited to the new or expanded PFSA only, or to the new type of cost added to the IDC pool, unless the tribe proposes to negotiate for ongoing contracts. The new policy also includes updated statute citations. Additionally, you'll find updated exhibits, including standards for review and approval now being identified as Exhibit G, and the CSC negotiation template, previously called the ACC template, is incorporated as Exhibit F. Please be sure to note the footnotes included in each section of the policy and the exhibits. These footnotes represent special notes or identified disagreements among the CSC workgroup members. Also, see additional training videos on the calculation of CSC and the use of the new template found in Exhibit F. If you have any questions regarding the new policy, please be sure to reach out to your area.